Good evening, Sangha. I'm glad to be back. It's good to see your names and pictures or faces. The solstice was this week. Was it yesterday? Day before? I don't remember exactly when. Shortest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere. I don't know about you, but I do spend more time inside, a little bit quieter this time of year. And the time between the solstice and the new year, it's a good time to reflect on our lives, reflect on our year. And with that in mind, I thought I would first talk about advice to Rahula. Um, I forgot the full name, but that's what I call it. It's Sutta number 61 in the Majjhima Nikaya, if you've got that, middle length discourses of the Buddha. And one of my favorites. It's fairly simple, but very good advice. Good advice. In the sutta, the Buddha comes to a place where his son Rahula is. His son is a monk, a bhikkhu. And the first part of the sutta is a part where the Buddha tells Rahula not to lie. He uses a bowl as a way of illustrating this. Rahula has a bowl with water. The Buddha can wash his feet, or he can wash the Buddha's feet after he's come. And there's a little bit of water in the bottom, and the Buddha says, "See a little bit of water? A little bit of water is the recluseship. The recluseship. So I guess that would be the beneficial life, the beneficial part, the good part, the good spiritual part of a person that lies. Just a little bit of water." And the Buddha throws the water out of the bowl and says, when a person lies, a recluse lies, they're throwing away their holy life, just like I threw out the water. And he holds the bowl upside down. It says that when a person lies, they're turning their lives upside down, their holy lives upside down. And then when he turns it back up, he points into the cavity, the hole inside the bowl, and says, a person who tells the deliberate lies, their spiritual life is empty, like the cavity of this bowl. He says that when a person tells a lie, a deliberate lie, they will not stop at anything. And then admonishes and warns Rahula never to tell a lie, not even in jest. I was going to skip over that part at first because that wasn't what I wanted to talk about. But I will come back to that later. The part I wanted to talk about starts right after this. He shows a mirror to his son, or to Rahula, and asks, "What is the purpose of the mirror?" Rahula says, "Reflection, Venerable Sir." And then the Buddha says, and so when you want to do something, when you want to undertake an action, physical action with your body, you should reflect upon it. Reflect upon the possible outcomes of the action. Will they cause suffering for yourself or others? If the answer is yes, then refrain from those. They're harmful. Refrain from the action. And if the answer is no, they will not cause harm to others, then go ahead, knowing with the confidence that the action is wholesome and beneficial. He goes through this sequence with Rahula, suggesting that he reflect on an action before and then actually during the action to be mindful when one is undertaking a physical action, when one is doing something. Ask yourself when you're doing it, is this causing harm to myself or others? Will it cause harm to myself or to others? And if it does, abandon it. If it doesn't, know that it's wholesome, beneficial. And then the part that is relevant for this time of year, is after you take an action. After one has done an action, taken an action, it can be helpful to review the outcome, the results of the action. Did it cause pain or suffering, affliction for yourself or for others? Or did it not? And I'm going to open this sutta because basically, if it does not, then it's an opportunity to rejoice and be happy that your action was helpful and beneficial. You can abide happy and glad, training day and night in wholesome states, reflecting on those things that you've done that are helpful. Sometimes I'll start a meditation. I almost did it this time. Start a meditation by suggesting that you think about something good that you've done, something skillful and helpful. When you do that, it automatically makes you feel happy. Automatically. So that's what you do when something that you've done is beneficial, when you've reflected upon an action and found that it was helpful and beneficial. But what about those actions that cause pain, have painful consequences to yourself or to others? What the Buddha says is when you reflect, if you know this action that I did with the body led to my own affliction or the affliction of others, or to the affliction of both. It was an unwholesome bodily action with painful consequences, with painful results. Then you should confess such an action, reveal it, and lay it open to the teacher or to your wise companions in the holy life. Having confessed it, revealed it, and laid it open, you should undertake restraint for the future. Undertake restraint for the future. Confess it to another. And before I reflect more on this, the framework is looking at something before you do it, when you do it, and after you do it. evaluate whether it was helpful or harmful, caused suffering or not, to yourself or to others, or to both. And then you do the same thing for actions of speech, for things that you say. So the part about never telling a lie would come in here, of course. Has your speech caused suffering for yourself or for others? If it hasn't, you can abide happy and glad. If it has, then you should tell somebody. Lay it open to the teacher or your companions in the holy life, and then set an intention not to do it again. And then this third way, the third realm in which you evaluate your actions is within the realm of the mind. That's a little more subtle. A little more subtle. So perhaps you were angry, had aversion, hatred. You didn't do anything or say anything, but you felt it. If you think about it before you do it, you say, I'm going to be angry. I mean, you can stop that. If you are angry or frustrated or anything aversive, you can, in the middle of it, say, is this causing me harm? This is causing me harm. I don't feel well. I feel stressed. And you can stop. And afterwards, you look back on times when you felt stressed or unhappy, understand what actions of the mind cause that. So along with aversion can be lust and greed. Same thing. You think of a greedy thought, lustful thought, or you entertain the lustful or greedy thought. That can cause suffering for yourself. So this is the framework. Looking at things, actions of the body, mind, and speech before, during, and after, and evaluating, asking yourself if they were helpful or harmful. 12-step programs do this. I don't know if anybody is in one. I'm in 12-step program. And there are 3 steps in the middle, 4, 5, and 6. And number 4 is the wording of the 12 steps is that you make a fearless moral inventory. But basically, you make a list of the things that you've done wrong. You look at it, take a look, you reflect. And the next step is to share it with somebody else, with others. In a recovery program, you'll do that with a sponsor. So you don't have to go tell everybody in the world, oh, I've been greedy or I said something bad about somebody. Just share it with one other person. Don't carry it yourself. And then the 6th step, I don't have the wording, but basically is one of intending to do better. I think it's something about turning over your character defects to a higher power. And character defects in a 12-step program, to me, are the same thing as kileshas in Buddhism. These are potential ways in which we can act, that we act. They may be repeating themselves. In Buddhism, it's said that there are seeds that have come from previous lifetimes. And in 12-step programs, it's either a disease or an action that becomes a habit, repeated habit. That's the way I like to look at these things. So if you care to spend some time over this holiday season or the next few weeks looking back upon the year, and you think about the things that you've done or said or thought. And what you might notice is that there could be a pattern of those things. There could be a pattern. We tend to react to life in the same way, unless we're mindful and skillful. And it's challenging to be mindful and skillful all the time. So you may become aware and notice that, hey, I act this way. That's something I've done. And when you're aware of that, then you can set an intention to be aware of it when it occurs or before it occurs if you're good, and then not do it. I'm, for those of you who were here last time I was here, I've been working on a memoir reflecting on my life. And for the last 10 days, I spent almost every waking hour thinking about a period of time, a 3-month period of time in 2001. And that was the time when I started getting involved with my tribe and flew from San Francisco to Oklahoma and got involved in tribal meetings. It started when I first became aware of a conflict within the tribe, and I described how I wrote about and thought about how I went back to these meetings, and then in the end, how I ended up moving there in July of 2001. I had never noticed this before, that I went to these tribal meetings and I felt like I kind of knew what I was doing. I don't know why. So I would make motions in meetings, make suggestions that really weren't well thought out. They were clever, but they weren't in the long run very helpful. And I'd never thought about it in that way until now, 20 years later. I'm looking at some minutes of these meetings. I'm like, why did I do that? I was just trying to show how smart I was. It didn't work. I'm amazed. I was amazed that I could mine anything of use from a series of events that occurred 20 years ago. But when we discover our patterns, our glaciers, we're generally not surprised. Generally not surprised because they happen again and again. So one other thing, which is not in the advice to Rahula, but which I would like to add, I think it's crucial, is to be gentle with ourselves and to practice self-compassion and self-forgiveness whenever we become aware that we've taken an action that has harmed ourselves or others. If we just get angry with ourselves for it, that's like the second arrow Buddha talked about. That just causes more harm. So it's essential, if we review our life or our year, to hold ourselves with compassion and care, and to recognize that things that we do, even repeated patterns, sometimes it's all that we can do given our circumstances. in the place we are in our lives. It doesn't mean we can't do better. That's why I practice, really, because I believe that through practice and through doing the right thing and acting in wholesome ways, that my life will be better. When you look at, kind of use the framework of the advice to Rahula, it kind of leaves out, one thing it leaves out are things that you don't do. Times in which you may have needed to take care of yourself or do something, and you didn't. And so, that's not in that sutta. But there may be times when you just need to take care of your body and your mind. I'll offer one thing that arose to me is that I don't really like thinking about the things I did wrong. Or the things that I didn't do. That's judgmental, right? I don't really like thinking about the things that cause suffering. I don't. I wouldn't want to share it in a group. I'd probably say things that were like sleeping in. Oh, I slept in. Or I ate too much ice cream. It's not. It's hard. It's hard. So, yeah. But it's a good practice if you hold it in the right way. Hold it with care. So close your eyes, please, and reflect upon the good, the benefit that has arisen through this practice, through the last hour and a half that we've spent together. It has been wholesome. Meditating, reflecting is a wholesome activity. So we can be happy about that. And if any merit has arisen, we'd like to share with other beings. May we do that now. May any merit that's arisen be shared with all beings, everywhere. If there's any being living or past that you'd like to share the merit with, think of that being now. Thank you for your practice and your kind attention. It's so wonderful to spend an evening with you.